So, what is Sakuna of Rice and Ruin? When I first saw this game, I was actually kind of like not gonna play it because I kind of heard it's like Harvest Moon. And I've never played Harvest Moon, but from what I understand, it's like a farming sim. And I was kind of like, not really my cup of tea. I don't think that's for me. But then I started seeing more trailers for it. And I think the one thing they said, like the art style definitely got to me because it reminded me of Muramasa, which if you've never played it before, I forgot which system it came out for, but it was this gorgeous like hack and slash game that I loved and it's really gorgeous. And if you can ever get the chance to play it, definitely play it. But the art style definitely gave me those vibes. And then when I started seeing the trailer more, I started thinking to myself, you know what? This actually looks a lot like Muramasa, like the art style and some of the combat. And then when I started reading some reviews for it, some people said, you know what? It's actually a lot like Muramasa. So after I heard that, I was kind of like sold. I was like, okay, I'm definitely going to get this game. I'm definitely going to try it out. It's $39. It's $20 cheaper than the game normally is. So why not? So I made this video to kind of record my thoughts about the game. And I'm going to try and make it as spoiler free as possible. It's definitely not a review. It's just, this is just kind of what I think about the game. So it's definitely a JRPG. And what I mean by that is there is like a complex system to it. And it doesn't necessarily explain a lot to you. It does eventually, but you have to get kind of almost like a quarter through the game before it really explains how like the progression system works. And you definitely have to grind. Like grinding is the thing about JRPGs, and you have to grind in this game. Like you have to grind for levels and you have to grind for materials. But the interesting thing about this game is your grinding is for your levels is not linked to your experience. Like you can kill as many enemies as you want and it doesn't matter. Your advancement of your experience, your advancement of your levels is actually tied to the rice you grow. And it's actually tied to the way you process the rice, which is really interesting. And they didn't actually tell me that. I mean, I kind of had to figure out for myself. They kind of hinted at it, but they didn't really tell me it until I was almost close to halfway through the game. And then they told me it in a scroll, and I was like, oh. But I kind of had an inkling after like my second harvest where I was like, okay, how am I getting stronger here? How do I get stronger? And then I kind of realized after my harvest, I noticed some enemies were easier, and some enemies were easier, and I was like, okay, so clearly my levels are tied to the kind of rice I'm producing. So once you figure that out, it's actually pretty interesting. I will say this, like the characters at first, I was kind of like, typical anime characters, typical like Japanese game characters, and I really wasn't that invested in them. But I have to say, as the game went on, I was definitely a lot more invested in them. And then in the end, like kind of seeing, like you kind of have to do all the side quests to get the full sense of the story. And kind of having done that and kind of seen it all, I have to say by the end, I was actually kind of really invested in the characters, including the main character. Um, I will say this as a warning. This being a JRPG, if anyone's ever played Final Fantasy, at least old school Final Fantasy, you kind of know one of the things they love to do in old school Final Fantasy is kind of like halfway through the game, you have this apocalyptic event where no matter how overpowered you got to that point, or you think you're fighting the final boss, you kind of like hit this wall and you almost have to start your progression over again. So there is this point in the game where that does happen. I'm not going to say what does happen. And honestly, like, I was a bit frustrated. I was kind of like, really? Are you really going to do this to me? I'm really have to go through this right now. And it was kind of annoying because it just kind of felt like all of the progress I made up to that point meant nothing because it wasn't like the enemies got stronger. It was kind of like I got weaker because of this like apocalyptic event. But I'm not going to ruin it for you, but I will say like, you know, once you get past that and once you get over that and you kind of adjust, I mean, the game just kept on flowing and it was still really, really good. So I have to say, like, I did not find myself like, at first I thought when I started playing it, I was like, you know, this is kind of cool, but I don't know if I'm like really that into it. And you know, I just find myself, I kept on going back to it and back to it, and I started playing more and more. And before you knew it, I was like playing like 2 to 3 hours at a time, and by the time I was done, I was like 40 hours in plus. I was probably more than 40 hours. So I have to say, like, I definitely love this game. And if you're looking something that has like a very unique charm, has that JRPG system, like if you do not mind grinding for materials, if you do not mind grinding for like experience, although experience is related to your farming, if you do not mind any of that. And I honestly had a lot of fun like with the farming, trying to figure out the best way to grow the rice to get the best quality rice. So I did not mind that at all. So I would say definitely, like, do not miss out on this game. Like, give this game a try. Especially if it goes on sale, definitely give this game a try. But even if it doesn't, it's only like $39. And I actually had a lot of fun with it, and I'm happy I got it. And at the end, like, some games I kind of feel like, let me just get this over with just to get this over with. But I found myself wanting to finish this game. And when you have that desire to finish this game because you're kind of invested in the game, then you know it's a good game. So those are kind of my thoughts on Sakuna. Hope you enjoyed it. I definitely wanted to make a video about this because I definitely had a lot of thoughts about it as I was playing it. I'm probably not going to post too many videos because I don't want to do too many spoilers. I'm the kind of person that I would rather enjoy the game myself and experience everything myself for the first time. So I definitely would not want to take away that experience from everyone. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I will catch you next time.